Hello everybody, it is I, Amo, and once again we are back as always for more Draft League games. Yeah, and this time I am bringing you the return of LTM. For those who don't remember, a year ago my friends created a low tier league. Like they didn't want to use any of the existing leagues they have and just make it low tier edition to make it a new one. And that was how LTM was created. And like I said, it's low tier. Although even though it's low tier, it's very power crap, because it's Gen 9. So when you think of low tier, you might not think of Pokemon like Terrakion, Azelf, Gengar, Iron Jugulis as low tier potentially, but they're here. They're allowed. Some can Terra, most of them can't, but I think Jugulis can. I believe it did draft it as Terra as well. So yeah, that's gonna be. I mean, it's Gen 9. It's power craft to the max, even in low tier. So yeah, as for me, in the draft, you know how draft looks. We are placed. We get to pick when it's our turn. Out of 16 people playing in this league, I placed as 15th. So just before last, which is not. I mean, I guess we get like close to the dual pick, but we skip on those very broken Pokemon that were allowed for this season in particular. But anyway, because all of these broken guys were able to come out first, as the 15 picked, I was able to get Premier Arena for me. Normally, I would have loved to do to get the big guy, the team, the leader, the damage dealer, and basically the guy, the guy that represents the draft. I didn't know what I wanted to get. I mean, I had ideas, but then I was just stuck, before I made a decision where I was like, maybe I shouldn't do that. So I decided to go Premier Arena because I know that, and it will probably not be like the best Pokemon of the draft, but I know for a fact that every time I will bring it, it will be good and useful. Very good special stat, amazing dual type, great move pool, whether offensively or support. Abilities are kinda meh, but I guess Torrent can be nice, especially because with how tanky Premier Arena is, you can just get a last ditch boosted water move. Liquid Void has its use. It will mainly to do psychic noise becoming water type if you feel like it. But yeah, might not be the star player of the team, but it will always be useful, no matter what. That I know for sure. For the second pick, I decided to do the same rule as Premier Arena. I didn't know what I wanted in particular, but I wanted something that would bring something of good value to the team, no matter what. So I went over Quill. Again, great typing of Dark and Poison. I would say a little downside is that it's a poison type that doesn't resist either fighting or fairy. At least has Intimidate to sponge fighting type, physical fighting type move much better. At least a little better. But yeah, besides that, it's still great because offensively the typing is still great and even defensively as well. It brings me spikes as well, which I think is also something that I'm just lacking recently. With how good spikes are, so not being able to use them sometimes hurt. Sometimes I did wish I had spikes. So at least I have Overkill to make sure I have these spikes. Of course, offensive set can still work because Gunshot is strong. It's a physical dark that doesn't get knockoff, unfortunately, but I can live with that. But yeah, Overkill, very solid. I'm gonna try to just go over them quickly because we how deep into the generation we are. I think we all know what these Pokemons can do. It's just a matter of, well, yeah, I got this Pokemon because I think it's pretty good for me or whatnot. So yeah, third pick, I went with Ente. Yeah, a pure fire type with good bulk all around. And of course, offensively, it is pretty neat. It mainly uses Secret Fire as its physical fire stab because it's 100 base power and it has a 50% chance to burn the target, which is pretty cool if it nails on the physical attacker. And even if it's not, if it's a special attacker, the burn is still nice for chipping down stuff. And of course, it has extreme speed. to make sure I can control the speed of the battle with, my favorite form of speed being the fake one. That it doesn't matter what your speed stat is, I just move first because I click extreme speed. So, either boots Ente, choice band, this man will be able to just do, again, solid damage. Next. So, I guess you can see that I have 3 guys in, and none of them has Terra. This change with my upcoming 4th pick, Comfy. And this is in fact Terra Comfy because you can see the background is different compared to the other 3. Comfy is quite the terrifying guy when you're not able to break through it. It just doesn't like it, but Trash is just a stupid ability. Making all of its healing move first. It's just great. Like yes, priority draining kiss, priority synthesis. Basically, it just stays alive. One of Comfy's weakness is that it can struggle with the types that versus Fairy, mainly Steel types. Because at least Poison type, you can try to just brute force through them with a stored power set. Whereas Steel and Fire type, you mainly need to leash seed them to wear them down. At least Fire, you're neutral to them, but still you're weak, especially if they use Heavy Slam. But this is where my Terra Stylization comes handy. I can just flip the matchup on Comfy on its head. Either be, of course, straightforward with like an offensive Terra type, like Ground, to just destroy the types that versus Fairy. Or I can go a defensive Terra type to make Comfy very hard to break, especially if the Pokemon that are designed to handle Comfy just cannot handle it with a different typing instead. And of course, Comfy has a lot of good utility outside of, your Command or Leash Seed set, and I hope I'll be able to dive into its move pool and try to come up with some very cool stuff outside of just, Calm Mind and Drain Kiss sets, which I'm probably gonna use anyway because they're good, especially with Terra. But yeah, I hope I will gonna do some good stuff with that Terra Comfy, which I guess also something I realized that as a fairy type, I have Primarina, which is a much stronger initial fairy type, so that could be a nice thing, synergy to overwhelm Fairy Resist, Primarina's huge power, and then Comfy's priority to finish them off. I like that. Next. I know how good the ground type is. I tried to secure a good ground type as the best I could get. Like, I thought about some other options like Gligar or Palossand, but there are things that were holding me back from drafting them. So I just went with like the highest points ground type that I could think of that was also good, and I landed on Hippowdon. People will remember the infamous fast choice when Hippowdon that was a big part in me winning BBR a few months ago now. I didn't want to draft Hippowdon, but again, I know how good ground is as a type, so I really wanted a good ground type, and that's basically just Hippowdon left. But yeah, very tanky. The ground type is good. It does give me Sand, which I think is a little bit underrated as a weather condition. Like, sure, there's no X schedule to support, but the passive damage is just very good to wear stuff down a little bit more quickly, especially those that aren't. Basically those that are not resistant to Sand, which is nice to make Pokemon like Comfy or Ente have an easier time to finish them off. It does have a little anti-synergy with Comfy, especially if I want to use Synthesis, but as long as I don't have bad positioning, I can just be able to make sure the Sand wears off before I want to go for Synthesis. But yeah. Next, another Pokemon that I'm excited to try. This is a Terra Scyther. Scyther is an interesting Pokemon. Like, this is like the only Pokemon that won't evolve. It doesn't get any base stat buff. Like, it just loses speed to get more attack and defense as a Scizor, and then I think it's just less speed, which is more attack as a Cleavor. And then you have Scyther. Offensively, hey, it's actually not that bad. You have Stab, Dual, Wind Beat, boosted by Technician. You have even Bug Bite, boosted by the same ability. You can U-turn over the place. You have Close Combat as coverage for the Steel and Rock type that resists your flying move. And with Terra, which I think is gonna make Scyther very disgusting, because its bulk is actually similar. Kind of close to its evolution, but it's not fully evolved. It can ult Eviolize, so that this is basically a bulky Self-Sweeper. And with Terra to escape its mediocre typing defensively, really, this thing can actually be a monster. Like, imagine it with like Terra Ground, Terra Fighting to have a boost against the flying resist. Or imagine like Terra Fire or Terra Electric to not be status by a crippling status that will ruin Cypher. Or even Terra Normal to get a boost on Quick Attack to finish off faster Pokemon. Especially because defensively, it will also be great because the fighting type that hits normal for super effective will be weak to Cypher's prior dual wing beat. Really. Also, it's like Comfy, where I didn't mention, but basically both Pokemon can absolutely work even without Terra. That's another strength I have with these two Pokemon. Like, if I were to bring both, I can make sure that they can still work even with their prior typing. Again, another Pokemon that I decided to use. Next, I decided to go with Trevenant. I did want a grass type, and I did my plans for like what I wanted for my last few picks, and I believe Trevenant was the better grass type I can have left. I mean, there are definitely other grass type for sure, but I wanted to use Trevenant. It's been a long time since I've used it. Plus, it gives me a ghost types, to block Rapid Spin potentially. I know Trevenant is not the most impressive Pokemon, but Harvest is a pretty strong ability. Being able to reuse berries again and again, it's quite strong. Like imagine like the Cobra Berry, I could like maybe be able to absorb Dark Moon more easily. Of course, the Citrus Berry for healing. Yeah, and it's a ghost type, so it has a lot of good utility moves. You have your Wisp, you have your Leash Seed, you have your Trick Room. Really, it's just a Pokemon with a lot of cool tricks that I hope I'll be able to make use of it. At least I hope its typing won't hold me back from using it. I really want to do some cool stuff with it. Next, a Snorlax has appeared. I could have get it before Trevenant, but because my Trevenant pick was just before the 15th pick, I was able to just go it first because I knew for a fact that Snorlax wouldn't go. So I was just able to get Snorlax right after. We all know what Snorlax does. Big, fat, wall. It's just a Pokemon that you just slap it onto a team to be the glue that pieces all of them together. It can be like, just standard offensive using your good move pool or your setup with Curse, or you can try to be a wall with, your abilities either making you immune to poison or give you resistance to fire and ice. Maybe Gluttony if you feel like something like a half HP custom berry or some stuff. But yeah, not the flashiest, but by far a good, reliable Pokemon. Next, I went with the Meow Stick. I was already very low on points at this point, and I figured Meow Stick brings a lot of good value to the team. Prankster Screen can make my Pokemon have easier time to set up, especially Comfy and Cypher, to give, Comfy to make it snowball much easier. And when you thought Cypher wasn't already bulky with Eviolite, behind Screen is pretty much ridiculous. Of course, he has a few more support moves that are also good. Also worth noting that I didn't just draft Meowstic male, it's just I drafted Meowstic as a whole, so I can use both the male and the female version. As you can see, because it says Prankster and then it's basically competitive. It's just a matter of which ability I think is better. I didn't check into their move pool, like I used to believe that they have at least some different moves, the male and the female one. I didn't dive deep into what their different moves were. But just notice that a lot of moves that the female would like to use, the male gets it. So I feel like most of the time the male is just superior all the time because at least you get to hide whether you're make them think you're more likely to be the support set and then suddenly you feel to be offensive. Unless I think competitive can be a very good ability for a matchup. But yeah, mainly it's Prankster Screen, which is very good with me. And then last pick. I had basically 2 points left, and I was lacking a Steel type. And I knew for a fact, even before I was like 2 points left, that I would go with Isui and Sliggo as my Steel type because most of the Steel type are not good in my heart. I did consider having Orform, but it was only good for 1 or 2 matchup. I know Sliggo is by far the weakest Pokemon on my team, but I still go with it because its typing is still great. It's still very tanky with Eviolite, and there's a few moves that, it's lacking some move that it doesn't get, whereas Gudra gets, but it still gets a few of them. Like, I think the most notable one, or like your Dragon and Steel Stab and Acid Spray to make it less passive. But yeah, it's not flashy, but abilities like Sap Super and Gooey could come in clutch if needed. But yeah, that's the draft. Again, I tried to keep this very simple. And on that, I hope we'll be able to make a good comeback to LTM because we didn't make playoffs. So yeah, see you guys later to week 1, which I think is versus Viz. So it's gonna be a good first match. So see you later for the regular season, guys. Later.